To the C3 podcast, Cocktails, Codes, and Conversation, and y'all know what it is. So listen, all my C3 squad members, look, hold on, let me make sure I'm looking at the camera. I need y'all to get ready, okay? Because this right here, y'all know I hype up all my guests every time, and y'all be like, Dave, you just cap, because every time we start, you be like, look, special guest, and this, I was like, but y'all don't understand this right here, this guest right here, man, this, y'all in for a treat, because we have the world-renowned Triune on the podcast, ladies and gentlemen.
What up? How's everyone doing?
So, look, man, I'm number one, like, for real, just thanks for taking the time being on the podcast. I've been really looking forward to us to chopping up. And I'm gonna be honest, man. Look, I'm gonna say this right now so that people can see it, like, and they can hear it. I've been meaning to send you this email to ask to link up on this for a long time. And I was holding on. I was like, man, I don't know. I got nervous. I was like, and it's not like I know, man. It's like, exactly.
I'm gonna keep it 100 with you. I got a few partners of mine like yourself that are, getting into the content and the media end of the game, and have been doing it for some that have been doing like yourself, been doing it for quite some time. And I'm not one of these guys that changes. Like, I'm the same dude that was walking around Etowanda campus that I am right now in my garage. So it's open door treatment with me. Like, you could pull up to my crib and we could crack one and chop it up. Like, it's anytime, bro.
Yeah. Now, and number one, that's love, man. And I appreciate it. And it is, and you know what? What finally knocked me out of it. Number one, I kept getting busy and I didn't send it. But what knocked me out of it is I remember this. I came to LA, man. Mm-hmm. Years is adding up, so I'm not even going to remember when it was. It was like 5 or 6 years ago, but you had a show.
Right.
And I remember I was like, I'm going to the show. I gotta go see your show. Right. And so I believe I had my niece with me. She might have been with me, but yeah. So pulled up to go to the show. You rocked it, killed it. I was like, oh man. And then like when I came to you after, he was like, yo, you made it. I was like, okay, that's like my dudes, because you know what it's like, man. You know what, like, and hold on, let me explain to C3 Scott. So first of all, me and Triune, we go way back, right? So we went to high school together, Etowanda High School, right at the precipice of it becoming like a basketball superpower, right? Mm-hmm. Like, unfortunately, that didn't happen with the football team. We ain't gonna talk about that. It got a little better, but it was years after I did. So I did on the gridiron, but my man was nice on the hardwood. And so the one thing that I loved about that time we were there in high school, especially at Etowanda, is I will always cherish that because like Etowanda was predominantly white for like the longest time, right? And from started in 95 when I got there to about 2001, 2002 was like the fluctuation of really, us kind of bringing some color there and really kind of turning it into more so on the athletics, and not saying that, Black people only excel in athletics, but just in general, bringing some diversity to it and kind of getting Etowanda on the map for more things, which look, let's be real when it comes to, schools, either it's high school or college, like athletics, most of the time end up bringing in a lot of things that help the rest of the school get better. Right. So let's not even joke about that.
That revenue stream is real.
Right? Like all of a sudden you start getting a couple of cats going D1 coming out of the program. What happened? Oh, brand new gym comes out of it. What
have
is
you
this?
Seen the campus lately?
I have not, heard? Bro. I have not.
Oh, football, bro. If you walk on that campus, it will look nothing like it did when we was there. There's a ton of new buildings. There's a whole football stadium in there now. We paid for some things. Let me tell you, we absolutely frontline.
Okay, so I'm definitely coming back once this settles down, especially in Cali, because I want to go to that football stadium because I want to go see where the plaque is, because I want y'all to know my name is up on that plaque on that hatchet, man, and it better be there. When we walk through that campus, it's like, look, y'all better know.
It should be there as investor. That's what
right. But yeah, so C3 Squad, like we go way back, right? And the thing was, that night is when I knew that I was like, all right, he's still real, right? Because a lot of people, reality just happens, man. People change as they get older, right? Yeah. And you start to kind of see different things. And I had kind of gone through this. I keep up with some people, you know, kind of from high school, and as my circles kind of grew, things like that. And the biggest things was I left. You know, I left California, went to school in North Carolina, and I never really came back. But you know, I had this interesting cycle for a while. Where I would come back, I, you know, meet people, you know, link up with people, whatever, and just everybody started becoming fake or this or that. And I was just like, man, like I can't really rock with that. And so I was like, all right. It's funny. I tell people now, it's like, that's the point in my life when I started, like, I don't live by assumptions, right? I don't make any assumptions about anybody. Like, I'm gonna let people tell me, like, and show me like who they are. And so the thing that I should have remembered sooner, because after that night I was like, yo, it don't matter. Like,
no. You can catch me, dog. We can link up 20 years from now. I'm still gonna be the same old Triune Orlando that you was on campus with. Like, it's I can't be infected by like those diseases of Hollywood and fame or stardom or a blue check or whatever the hell it is, man. At the end of the day, we're all human beings. We all want the same things, right? Like, we want health, we want love, we want family. We want these are all just essential things, and we want to do the things that we love to do. And so the fact that you were willing to come out and check the show out, even while you were out of town, because God knows you probably had 1,000 other things you could have been doing. And the fact that you actually carved the time out and you brought your niece with you, you took in the show, yo, I'm forever in debt, bro. Thank you.
Yeah, man. No, I look, you put on a good show too. So it was a treat for me. I was like, okay. I was like, look, man, it went to my list, and I was like, and actually I remember before, this was about 2 years ago, right? You was gonna come to South by Southwest.
I was.
Yeah, and I was so looking forward to that, because I was like, man, I was like, yo, I get to see him perform again. I was like, this time it's in my backyard.
Yeah,
so I was like, it's gonna be dope.
Yeah, it didn't end up working out the way that I was hoping it was gonna work out, so I decided staying back. But I was looking forward to linking up with you just on some bro stuff, just because we've always had really good conversations when we was around each other. And they've always been conversations of like really good depth, and we're both thinkers, and we kind of think outside the box. So I was looking forward to it, and it just didn't end up working out. So.
And that's honestly, man, that's one of the things I hope comes back is South by Southwest, right? As we kind of, you know, transition into our new normal and kind of get out of this, because one of the things that I will say, I'm not the biggest Austin fan, right? But one of the things I will say that I did enjoy being about here with South by Southwest is it's like nothing that I've ever seen before, because you get tech, you get education, you get music, you get film, and so you just get this just odd collection of diverse people all coming in Austin, and it's love, man. Like, it's crazy to see all this mix of creativity come together. And every time that I've been here, like, I've never been able to go to all of the things, but I can go check some stuff out. And I always do the music stuff, man, because somebody's always here. They always pop up and do a secret show. I will never forget Kanye and Jay rocked it at this random bar, like popped up, surprise out of nowhere. Kanye just popped up on stage. We was like, yo. And then midway through the verse, he was like, no, hold on. Switch to whatever, I forget whatever song it was that him and Jay had at the time. And then Jay came out. I was like,
yo, to see Jay in a small room, that's different.
I'll never forget it in my life, bro. Like, it went nuts. I know, I felt so sorry for that bar owner and then bartenders, because the crowd lost it at that point. Like, it's already South by Southwest, so we were already way over limit. But at that point, it was just like,
that's the problem with having a guy like that in your club. He'll destroy your club. Like, you can't have Jay-Z in a nightclub.
Right, it's crazy. And it was they did two sets or two songs, and then bounce, right? And that was it. And that's the one thing, the allure that I loved about South by Southwest, is because you just get all these things, right? Because so many artists come in there, so they'd be like, yo, I may not be signed to be on the stage or whatever, but they'd be like, all right, I'm here, you here.
Yeah.
Let's go turn this spot up.
Yeah, I did South by, I think it was in 2013 or 2014, like one of the earlier ones. And it was very much like the AC3 festival in Atlanta, like how, you know, you guys have all the different like clubs in the area that are all throwing different events, but they're all part of South by. Same way AC3 festival kind of runs in Atlanta, and I really enjoyed myself. I didn't expect to see so much progressiveness in Texas. It was the first time like
Mm.
when I was in Austin and I was like, oh, this kind of feels like California. Like
That's
this
because you was in
feels,
Austin.
yeah. It's like this kind of feels like back home. These people are really progressive. I don't really get this southeast south kind of feel.
Right.
And yeah, it was a great time, man.
Yeah. So I tell people, look, if you've never been to Texas, you've never been to Austin, that is absolutely true. But it's just because it's Austin. Drive 20 minutes.
Yeah.
You will catch the South.
Yeah. I've been to Dallas, Houston, Center. I've been around. Yeah. And all the little in betweens. Like I've driven through Texas on the 10, so I know.
Ooh, yeah. Look, man, I tell people, right, just outside of Austin, man. The joke I used to tell people that's very real. I was like, look, what you will see is you'll come and you'll see all the progressiveness, you'll see all the love that you see in Austin. As you start driving out to these smaller towns, I was like, the trucks start getting a little higher, the flags start coming out, and the yeehaw just gets a little bit more racist. And that's when you just like, yeah, I'm not in Austin anymore. This ain't this.
Them rag hats start to come out.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
They start to remind you you're in good old America.
Yeah, America. Yeah,
America.
You start to look at that gas station and be like, I think I can make it. Like
that part.
I'm good.
And it's hard because the prices be so cheap. You be like, I should just stop. It's like, no, actually, nah.
Actually, we gonna push this. The light ain't start blinking yet. We're gonna be all right. Yeah. But yeah, man. So I want to talk about transition real quick. I want to talk about like your journey like into hip hop, right?
Oh wow.
Like just how that started and what are some of the things you've learned throughout that journey?
Oh wow. So the journey started early, really early. I was blessed enough to have an older sister that was into the culture. She was 5 years older than me. So at tender age of 5, 6 years old, she's bringing home Pagan Fool tapes, and she's bringing home LL tapes, and she's bringing home Boogie Down Production tapes and NWA tapes. And this is like my like 5 to 10, like 5 to 8 or 9, should I say, where she's just bringing home tapes that we not supposed to be listening to. Like my family is pretty, I mean, they weren't religious, but they were pretty conservative as far as like, they didn't want to hear no cursing playing all out loud or stuff like that. So we playing these records real low in the crib or loud when the folks ain't home. But when they get back, it's like headphones really low and you listening. And I fell in love with the freedom of it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think these were things that everyone was thinking, but just was too afraid to say. And to say publicly, right? Like I heard my parents talk like that when it was just them and their homies around, but not necessarily like in the open. And so to hear these things being said, it was just provocative. And like how I got into it was, so as a kid, there was this thing called the writing celebration at school. And I had to write a poem. And so I wrote a poem for the writing celebration at 5 years old and ended up winning the thing and getting my writing published. And so when I first had heard, I heard Illmatic. It was like early 94. I heard Illmatic. I remember I had a female best friend at the time. And I was like, yo, did you hear this? Like, I could never. And she was like, yeah, you can. And I was like, what are you talking about? She's like, you write poetry really, all you have to do is just kind of tweak a few things and put it to a beat and it'll work. So I like spent like 6 months writing like my first set of rhymes that no one's ever heard, right? And then eventually I wrote a record to I found so I don't know if you remember when the Gin and Juice Snoop single came out. The B-side had the instrumental on it. The other side, it was like just a single, cassette single, right? And it had Gin and Juice and something, I think it was like the Shiznit or something like that on one side. And on the back side, it had both of the instrumentals. So I was like, all right, well, let me write something to this Gin and Juice instrumental. I wrote something, and then I went to that same female best friend, was like, yo, I need you to hear this. She's the first person I ever rap for. And she was like, yo, she's like, it's dope. She's like, of course you can get better, but she's like, I love what I heard. You should run with this. So then I kind of kept it closet for a minute until I got to high school. And then when I met, J.O. and Chaos and all these guys, they was like, you rhyme. And I'm like, yeah, I rhyme. They're like, let me hear something. And it's like, all right, well, I gotta put up a shut up or look like an a-hole
Right.
out here. And I did, and then we formed our group, and you saw that, and then it kind of took off from there. But I started rhyming in 94, man.
So what's up, man?
Yeah.
It's always interesting to hear when I talk to people about like hip hop, and I go back to the movie Brown Sugar, and it's that the question in there is, I feel is so relevant, is like, when did you fall in love with hip hop? Because the people who really rock with hip hop, that's literally what it is. Because you will remember, just like you remember your first kiss, your first love, like you remember the first album that you was just like, oh no, this is.
Oh, I remember it.
This is it.
For sure. Yeah.
For me, it was Ready to Die.
Oh, word. Okay.
Yeah. It was Ready to Die. And because like I was always into music. I used to love like listen to the radio, like, and then when my sister taught me like how to like record the radio, like I would just go to school, set the record so I could hear all like the radio when I get back home. And so I would like listen to all the 92.3 The Beat, Theo. Like I used to, so I used to come home, listen to all of that. Yep. And so I was always into music, and like R&B was more my thing. But then I remember, I don't remember how I got it, but I remember coming home, and I remember the little, clear as day, I can remember the stereo set that I had, open up the CD, putting the CD in there and putting on Ready to Die. And I was just like, yo, this is like, it just,
yeah, it's different.
To your point, like what he was portraying for me was like, I never claimed that, I was about that life, but I grew up in LA and I saw a lot of it. Right.
Yeah.
But I was too young to really understand what it was. But like, I saw like, people that kind of knew my brother and kind of hang over with my brother. I saw like gangs, I saw all this stuff, and I was like, I knew it was dangerous, but I didn't really understand why. But I saw this life that all of a sudden Biggie is just putting into these words and all these, and I'm just like, yo, this is like this is it. Like,
yeah.
And from then on, man, like I went deep after that, man. It was Ready to Die. I found Wu-Tang. I found Jay. And then I found Pac, and I found Pac stuff like before he became Pac, what everybody knows him for. But I was just like, it was over for me, man. And I was just like, this all I listened to. I remember my mom would come home and she didn't particularly like it, obviously, the curse and all that stuff, whatever. No. So it was like, listen, I just don't want to hear it. Right. So I was like, okay, I can bump it a little bit, but it just can't come out through. I was like, all right, bet, cool. And
the clean version.
Right. Yeah. I had to get the explicit versions from, man. So I don't even remember the name of the store, but it was off of Foothill, outside of Heritage. There was the AM/PM, and then next to it was a little.
Yeah, I know. It was over by Patio Burger.
Yep.
I know what you're talking about. I actually knew the guy in there. He used to have a record store. I forget the name of it. But I know what you're talking about. I was over here by Patio Burger.
Yep.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
That's where Thomas, we used to Thomas Thurston used to always go. And that's what we got. That's what got the reel. And funny story, we found Mike Geronimo.
Oh,
like we was in there. We ended up getting it was a single with it was DMX before DMX had really blew up. It was DMX, it was The Lots, and like something else. And then next to it was just one single solitary tape. It was like, who's this? Like, it was like Mike Geronimo. I was like, all right, we grabbed that. And I remember grabbing that. I was like, yo, this cat is nice. Like, and that was just like our I used to love that song because that was my entryway just to finding different hip hop. Right? I would just go in there and be like, talk to you behind the counter, like, yo, what you listen to? Oh, check this out. Check this out. Like, all right, bet. And it brings back so much memories. And since then, like hip hop has stayed with me, man. I could tell you a song at each period of my life that kind of got me through something.
Yeah, for me, it was my sister brought home Boogie Down Productions' Criminal Minded. And when I first heard Bridges Over, something just changed. Something clicked. It was like, I never heard somebody, first of all, KRS-One just has like, he has a profound voice. Like he has a very much like take charge, commanding voice, right? So I always like that part of it. And then on top of that, just the album cover, chains, a Uzi. I was like, how is this being sold at Tower Records? Like, yep. And then like the whole thing, like the flow, kind of mixing in some of the Jamaican patois with it, because my grandmother was Jamaican. And then as well, just like the provocative stuff, like him dissing the whole borough. Like it was just like, yo, like you dissed all of Queens. Like Queens is a huge borough. Like,
right.
What are you doing? Is he even going to be alive next week? Like kind of thing. It just changed me. And then, obviously, Pagan Fool and the stuff that came after. But that first tape, I remember when she brought that home and Pagan Fool Bridges Over came on. And I was like, these pianos are just crazy. This bounce is crazy. I was like, man, I love this. Yeah.
I love it, man. So, I want to change topics a little bit, but before we do that, we're going to take a quick break. Right. And when we get back, what I want to talk about is, we saw a lot last year, as far as, social injustice, and we kind of had this social awakening for, I will say, non-colored folks, because for us folks, there ain't nothing waiting for us. We've been seeing this, but I feel like hip hop played a big part of that. We saw a lot from hip hop artists, so I want to kind of get your take on that. So we're gonna get that right after the break. This episode of the C3 Podcast is brought to you by my man Triune. Check him out at www.therealtriune.com. You can check out all of his music on every single streaming platform out there. What you're listening to right now is his latest single called Concrete Rose. Real hip hop, always. Let's get back to the pod. Yeah. All right. So C3 Squad, we are back. And before we get to this next topic, want to shout out to all my C3 Squad members. If you listen to this as you're watching this, hit us up on the C3 Squad hotline. Y'all see the number 909-487-8741. If you are a fan of hip hop, let me know. I want to hear what was the first track that really got to you. What was the first album? Like for those of you that seen the movie Brown Sugar, I'm asking you like this: when did you fall in love with hip hop? Hit me up. Let me know on the C3 Squad hotline. So back with Triune, man. You know what? I was thinking about this as I was prepping for our podcast today, and I watched a little bit of the Grammys. Not a lot. I'm kind of, I'm getting comfortable in my old head bag now, because I was like, I remember when the Grammys like used to be like iconic. We used to look forward to the performances and just be like, oh God, like I feel like it's lost some of that. And that's probably a little bit my old school. But I ended up catching man, now I'm gonna forget his name. Maybe it's a Little Baby. Yeah. But yeah, I ended up catching his performance of the track that he did. Had Killer Mike in it, which I love Killer Mike. And it just reminded me that I love the response that we saw like from the hip hop community for all the social injustice stuff that we saw last year. And when that was kind of front and center, I would specifically say for the Black community, one of the areas that has always kind of been our voices has been athletes, and then people in the music industry. And I really like the step that I saw a lot of hip hop artists kind of take this year and kind of stepping out there, saying something, using that platform that they have to kind of further this message of, hey, again, this is enough is enough, and here are the things that we're seeing. So with all that kind of as a backdrop, what were some of your thoughts as you looked at last year and some of the things that you saw, and what was your take on what you saw from your brother in the hip hop community, kind of, taking that stand and using that platform?
Last year to me was, I guess it was just a year of mighty balance. There's obviously great aspects and a lot of negative aspects, right? I think it's tragic anytime that history is just ignored, and you have to have such blatant examples like George Floyd to actually turn people's minds and hearts around, to let them understand or get them to an awareness place to where they understand that, no, we're not just complaining for the sake of complaining. Right. These things are actually happening. And, unfortunately, they have to get caught on like 4K video for people to really believe these things. But nonetheless, I remember after the George Floyd situation happened, I had a bunch of like colleagues that obviously weren't Black that reached out to me and was just kind of, offering their condolences, offering words of encouragement and also support. And I was pretty encouraged by that. I just think that, not saying the George Floyd situation, but I'm saying the awareness needs to continue happening.
Yeah.
There's just so many people in this country that are just willfully ignorant about the injustices that happen because it doesn't affect them. And we as a society, I think that we have to understand empathy on like an interracial level, or this country is going to perish at some point, because eventually the people of color will outnumber the people that don't have color.
Right.
So I thought from that standpoint, it was an encouraging year. I mean, a lot of messaging and a lot of ideals and perspectives got actually put on the table, and they got examined, and they got actually looked at, and I think that that's positive. In regard from like a hip hop standpoint, I mean, this is us, man. Like, we've always been the forefathers, and on the front lines and the forefathers of this stuff. Whether it's back in the day with KRS-One putting together the Stop the Violence movement, or if it was my homie Jag doing the Kaepernick effect 2-3 years ago, or last year having all of these like revolutionary songs. We've always created a song or some sort of chant or dance to quell our pains. And so to me, that's just a regular response. You know what I'm saying? That's what hip hop, that's one of the main, I won't say main, but that's one of the major things that hip hop does for society in general. And I'm encouraged by it. I hope we keep it up. But at the end of the day, I think the end goal is what we need to be focused on. And that end goal is changing legislation and changing culture. Right. And so, obviously that's a long, elongated process that will outlive me, obviously. But I'm also here to acknowledge that I don't live in the same America that my parents did. So there's progress that's happened. I'm just really looking forward to more progress, and my kids hopefully looking back in 20, 30 years and saying, I don't live in the same America my dad did. So
yeah, that's real, man. And I think, one of the things I've had some conversations, with a lot of my, kind of white colleagues, and one of the things that I really stressed with them is that, for the longest time, we've, Black people have kind of like held this pain kind of together, right? Mm-hmm. And it's been like a kettle, right? It just kind of boils and boils, and every now and then it boils over, right? And then something happens, it settles down, and so it's like when you look at it, you look at the history, and I just look at it from my lifetime, what I saw, right? I saw the Rodney King riots, I saw I saw what happened with O.J. Simpson. I'll never forget that. The tension that was just literally in the air when that happened, because what you had generations who were just trained from seeing that we just don't get justice the same way anybody else does. Yep. And so that can only happen for so long till it boils over, and people just feel like, the only way to get somebody to listen is to do it aggressively and sometimes violently. And so what I told a lot of my colleagues is like, what you are seeing is pain manifested into violence, right? Yeah. And you're wondering why. It's like, well, why are they tearing down this and this or whatever? I was like, because it's all pain. I was like, imagine if I locked you in a room for 30 years, right? And every day I came in and I just beat you for 5 minutes and then left. And then I came back again the next day and did it again and did it again and did it again and did it again. When I open that door 30 years from now, what are you going to do when you see me?
Oh, it's going to be
like, you know what I mean? It's like you're going to lash out. And so what you're seeing is, a lashing out of that. And I think that the most powerful thing that I think we can't let go of, and we look at from last year, is that as this started to happen, like we saw it around the world. It wasn't just, protests went across the States in a matter of days, and then across the pond in Europe. Right. Yeah. In New Zealand, like there was protests being done all across the world. And so I think it was a time where we all had a chance to kind of really look at it and say, no, this is a problem that we really need to address. And one of the things that it's funny, like I always try and find like common denominators to remind people is like, look, of all the differences that we can look at and physically see, like really at the end of the day, when you get down to it, for the stuff that matters, we're really the same. And funny story, like hip hop is one of those things, right? I got two colleagues of mine, right? White as I don't know what, man. You would look at these cats and be like, all right, like no way. But man, like when we start talking about hip hop, like one of my buddies, we literally shut down an Austin bar because it was the main bartender was like, well, it's kind of slow or whatever, because it's like I don't know, like random Tuesday night or something. Like he's like, you guys got any music we want to play? Right. So my buddy was like, yo, here, take my Spotify. All right, hook it up to the Bluetooth. And basically, we would just bump, like he goes back old school hip hop. We're going back and forth. We're just having a playlist battle in this bar. Shut it down, right? And it's what I love about it is like how something like that can like bring people across cultures, across everything. It don't matter how you grew up or whatever. But if we talk about Illmatic, right? Everybody get that same like, oh man, yeah, like or you bring up like, okay, Ether, whose side was you on? Like all of a sudden, everything drops, man. It don't matter where you was from or what it was. It's like, and I think that's one of the things that, you know, and of course I'm biased because I grew up on this, but I love about hip hop because it truly does have the potential to like bridge those gaps, because people can understand like pain and reality, right? You can just, and you can use that to bridge people together. I do want to take a transition and change subjects a little bit, but just ask you about like what your career has been like, right? And some of the things that you've learned, right? And as you've kind of grown up at this and watched the music industry change, right? Because I mean, it's changed drastically from the time that you started till now. Like just some of the things that you've learned and kind of what that's been like.
You know, of course, I've learned ownership is key, right? As much as I hate to say this, it's really tough to trust people in this business just because it seems the more you rob people, the more famous you get. Like the more accolades you get. And so I learned that lesson pretty early when I started taking music, seriously. And I made sure that I had my own studios and I made sure I recorded my own music, and I learned about sample clearances and stuff like that very early. And I understand about trademarking and copywriting and making sure that I'm actually in ownership of the stuff that I'm distributing. So that was the main thing. Aside from that, man, it's just been just a weird slalom to navigate, man, just because I feel like, and I hate to say this, but I feel like our generation in general, we've gone through more change than almost like any other generation when it comes to how the world functions, right? So when I first started doing, music, we were recording on 2-inch tape. There was no such thing as a DAW like Pro Tools or Logic or anything like that. We were distributing things on, based on CDs. You had to go to some place like disc makers or have your little burner at the crib and put your little CDs on and, get a little, I guess you get like blow dryer and shrink wrap your, like these are things that we did, you know what I'm saying? You go order 5,000 flyers and go flyer every car, right in the middle of like club sessions in Hollywood. Like these are things that we did, you know what I'm saying? And then all of a sudden, boom, this thing called MySpace happened. And it was like, oh, there's a music player on there. And I booked my first tour off of MySpace, where it's like I had a record on there and went crazy, had like 600,000-700,000 plays. I end up going to Canada to do a tour, and there's like 1,000 people singing these records word for word. And I realized the power of the internet at that point.
Right.
And then this transition from CD to MP3 and then from MP3 to stream. We've gone through some pretty stark changes, right? But I think what it's all proven to me over the years is that quality and consistency are always going to be a recipe for success. It doesn't matter what platform you're on. I could be selling CDs. I could be selling tapes. I could be selling vinyl. I could be selling streams. I could be selling MP3s. People want to hear from you consistently, and people want to hear that you're consistently growing and evolving in what you're doing. And so for me, that's what I just try and do, man. This isn't a physical sport, so I can continue to get better even though I'm in my late 30s and about to emerge into my 40s. No problem there. And I think as long as I'm aware as to, the pulse of hip hop, I feel like a lot of us older guys, we start to really show our age when we're no longer connecting. And you can hear that in our delivery. You can hear that in the beat choices. You can hear that in all of that. I make sure that I keep my ear to the floor and to the pulse of what's going on so that I don't sound aged and I don't sound old, and I can hop on any record, whether that's a young guy like Lil Baby or an older guy like KRS-One. And I think Yeah, I think I think hip hop is in a great place. Not just from I think it's in a great place, period. And I think the only people that don't like the place that hip hop is in is the establishment, which is great because record labels don't have the power that they once did. This is the year of the independent artist. I wish I was 21 right now. It would be because I would have like more energy to make 4 albums a year and that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
But I love where hip hop is right now. I love where the industry is right now. There's a few things that need to be worked out, but I love where everything is right now. I couldn't complain. I can't complain. I make a record right here in my studio. I can hit a few buttons and have it in front of everybody's face within a day.
Right.
I couldn't do that 20 years ago.
Yeah, and it's amazing to watch from the business side of it, right? Like I always studied just the economy of the music industry and how it worked, right? And I was always fascinated by that because, I always heard like the horror stories of artists just getting like these horrible deals and all this stuff, whatever. And I used to like, I used to understand, like, I don't understand like how this artist, like how are they broke, right? So then I started looking at it and looking at the deals that was happening. And I was like, yo, why would anybody agree to this, right? Why would you sign this? And so that it just fascinated me, right? I studied it more and more. And, as watching as technology has shifted and how this works. And I remember, when I first got a MacBook and popped it up and GarageBand was on there like for free. Right. So, and to give the listeners as you listen to this a little background. So when I was in college, I wasn't signed to a label. I worked for a label. And so I was always in the studio. So I saw like real studio sessions and how this worked. I was like, okay, cool. So I understood it. Like I'm never going to be claimed to be an engineer, but I could work my way around it.
Yeah, you can figure it out.
Right.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, cool. So I remember popping up GarageBand and I'm just like, wait, I can, okay. All right. So I can add tracks in here. I can record into it. Let's go get bed. I was like, wait, it's got tuners in here, like effects. Like, wait, I can add reverb. I was like, and my buddy was like, what's going on? I was like, do you realize I could like literally produce like an entire album on the laptop?
Yes.
And this comes free?
Yeah.
I was like, it's over.
And if you know what you're doing, you can make it sound just as good as the stuff you hear on the radio.
Right. So I was like, man, this is when I saw that, I was like, look, I never forget it was I was in the lab at college, and I was like, the music industry will never be the same.
Yeah.
I was like, it will never be the same. And it was like, I was like, look, I'm telling you, like, to be able to have this, like, that means an artist literally just with a laptop, wherever they're at, boom, let's do this. I was like, the only thing that was stopping it was at that point, like internet and bandwidth and connectivity. And to your point, now we're to the point, it's like, look, okay, hop in the lab up to 11, got something recorded, post it. It's out.
That's it. And it's out. Yeah. I mean, the amount of prep that we used to do to release a CD was just crazy, man. It was insane. And now, as you said, music business never be the same. I remember when I first saw that. So in high school, I know you remember Deadeye, right?
Yep.
So he's from Long Beach originally, and he at the time his brother was really connected with like the Dog Pound cats because they was all like gangbangers in the same gang and shit. So we got it. There was a studio in Fontana in Southridge that a guy named Don Dio had a full studio built out of his house. Like that, there wasn't even spaces in this home to live. It was just all studio. Yeah, and he happened to be a bunch of like these Dog Pound artists engineer, including Daz Corrupt, Badass, RIP, all these guys. So, Deadeye be like, yo, come with me down in the studio. Let's go record some stuff. I'm like, all right, cool. And I remember Don Dio, I was in the booth recording something for one of their records, and he burst in the booth and was like, yo, if you don't get this verse done in the next take, you're not on the song. This 2-inch tape is too expensive, my guy. And so obviously I was like, all right, give me some time, just play it. And then I got it on the next take. But when I first started working with my first producer, his name is DJ Ja Blues. and he had Cakewalk Pro Audio 9. And I was like, wait, you just recorded in the computer? He was like, yeah. And I was like, how many takes do I got? He was like, as many as you need. And I was like, so the quality doesn't deduce. He's like, no. He's like, every single time it's going to be the exact same quality because it's a digital print. I was like, oh yeah, this is different. This is going to change everything. And then studios started becoming cheaper and cheaper and cheaper and cheaper. And now, dog, $500, you can have a studio that can make some decent quality stuff right now.
Yeah.
You know?
It's definitely, and it's going to be interesting to watch how the bigger labels kind of adjust to this, right? Because alongside of that, I would say like the last 10 years, what we've really seen is the rise of the content creators, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's not even like before it was like, okay, your YouTube superstars, it was like, okay, yeah, one or two, but now it's like you see like from gaming and streaming that to anything. It's like, look, the ability to create content wherever you are, as you guys are watching or listening right now, my man's in his studio, I'm in my office, like, but your ability to create content and curate it and get it out and then straight to the people. I mean, that's the beautiful thing about it, right? So it is, I love it because as somebody who just really loves creative people and the art that creative people can produce, it like it gives us as fans and as followers like that much more connectivity to the artist. What I would like and what I'm hoping that we evolve on the business side is still making sure though that we can start to give them their monetary flowers like in the way that it was before, right? Because
I think with the direct to consumer part, people are getting their checks, like, you know, Patreon and where it is, you know, YouTube even has now, if your channel's at a certain level, you can have people join for exclusive content. And I think this whole delivering content for content creators behind a paywall is just more defining itself and even, you know, kind of optimizing itself and getting better as new companies find different approaches. So I think even from a monetary standpoint, people are going to be fine down the line. You just gotta get big corporation out of it.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
All right, listen. All right, we go transition. We go come up to our final question. And we're gonna give Triune a little bit of time. He gonna have to relax a bit and get ready for this question because it's as the C3 squad knows, y'all know what's coming up. It's called the last sip. Everybody gets the same question. Nobody's ever prepared for it, but they're going to get it anyway. We're going to get to that in just a second. To tell you about the Jumpstart Awards brought to you by On the Corner Media. Hey, the Jumpstart Awards are a great way to get your career started, either IT or cybersecurity. It's sponsored by On the Corner Media as well as our good partner, Uber Ether. And here's how this works. Basically, you go to onthecorner.us/jumpstart-awards and you enter in and see if you qualify. Right? We're so excited to do this and give back to the community. What we're doing as part of the awards is that 3 lucky participants will get a full year's access to Coursera.org. The other 3 will get 6 months access. And so what we want to provide is make sure that you have a pathway to get to the education and things that you need without having to pay the exorbitant cost. So again, head to onthecorner.us/jumpstart-awards, fill out your first name, last name, email address, and a link to a video just explaining why you want to jump into cybersecurity or why you want to jump on IT and what this award would mean to you. And we're going to keep this going until we give all awards out. So again, onthecorner.us/jumpstart-awards. Thanks. See you later, C3 Squad. All right, everybody, welcome back to the C3 Squad. Don't forget, hit up the C3 Squad hotline, 909-487-8741. I want to hear from you. Let me know what your thoughts. Let me know what you're thinking. If you grew up with music, I want to hear from you. What do you think of the music industry today and where it's going? Let me hear your thoughts. That it was the C3 Squad hotline. So we call this section the last sip. Now, got to give you a little backstory. So originally when this started, it was in person. I would have people out. We have cocktails. That's why I was cocktails, code, conversation. And right towards to get to the last sip, I would drop this question on people. Kind of changed a little bit as we went to more remote. This one actually would have worked for me because we started this at 5 local time. So I could have had a cocktail, but I still got some work to do. And you know, like once I start drinking, I don't want to work no more. So
no sipping paint today.
No sipping paint today. So the question I ask everybody, question for you right now is, what do you want your legacy to be?
That's huge. That's a big question. I would say that I want my legacy to be I wanted to embody ambition. Especially coming from like where we come from, right? So being an IE guy, you know, and being on the outskirts of LA, I'm not saying like this is the worst place to come from, but I am saying that it's very tough to make a name for yourself in entertainment out of the IE, period. And so I think you have to have an insane level of ambition and an insane level of drive to be able to accomplish things out of the IE. And so I want my legacy to be that of someone that had a lot of ambition and maximized their potential, and somebody that took care of the people around him that were important to him.
So what's up, man?
Yeah, I'm good with that. Say that at my funeral, and I'm good.
All right, 50 years from now, we'll make sure we'll say that.
Yeah, well, if I get there, man, that's 89, bro.
We gonna get you there, man. We're gonna get you there.
All these medicines, they probably will.
Man, look, I'm telling you, man, look, we all got a lot to accomplish in this world, and people such as yourself, man, you still have a lot of marks that you have yet to leave. So I'm putting that on you, right? I'm putting that on you, man.
Hey, and vice versa too. I know you got a lot more to give, bro, and I'm looking forward to all of it.
I will say this, like starting this, podcast for me was kind of like that final kind of push of kind of me transitioning into like this kind of new phase of life to where I want to do that. I want to do so much to kind of to give back and drop wisdom and all these things. Like it's been, I would always laugh when I was younger, when old heads would talk to me about wisdom and how they looked at things. And I was like, all right, yeah, whatever. Right. And now, right, as I'm rolling up on my 40th, man, I look back at it and I'm like, I'm more excited with all the things that I've learned up to now and the things that I'm able to do now, because now it's like, man, like, for my gamers like that, it's like playing Madden on pro. Like you just like, you can see all the pieces moving together. It's like, I've been here, I've done that. And I'm excited, not because of the things that I want to accomplish for me, because now like I'm in a position where I can start moving obstacles for other people and creating pathways and be like, oh, look, I'm going to go create this so more people can come over here. And man, that's what everybody asked me, like, Dave, you got all this energy. Like, what? I'm just like, because like, I feel like it's finally all coming together and there's things that I can do for other people. And that excites me more so than anything else. Not that I said I've done everything I want to do in my life, but I've had an amazing life. I've done a lot, but it's like that joy of like watching other people like figure it out and helping them get there faster, man. Like, it's nothing like it, man.
Nah, I hear you, man. I'm on the same type of time, man. Just probably maybe not in content, but in business for sure. Like, I don't know. You may not know, but I own and operate a barbershop and a shoe store in Fontana. It's right down the street from the high. It's right off of Baseline and Cherry.
Oh man, I didn't know that.
Yeah, called Kicks and Cuts, and we got some barbers in there, a couple other employees in there, and I love helping them along their journey. You know what I'm saying? There's nothing like it. I tell my barbers all the time, like this shouldn't be a lifelong thing here working at Kicks and Cuts. Like you should, make your money here, save your ducats, go open your own shop. Right. And I'll help you along the way. I'll show you how to get the licenses. I'll show you how to get this. I'll show you how to get your credit right. I'll show you how to start an LLC. I'll show you how to start an S Corp, C Corp, whatever you choose to do. I'll help you along that process, because at the end of the day, especially for us, like we need that hand holding and that guidance, since these aren't things that we're just regularly taught in our homes.
About it.
Yeah. Then our parents weren't sitting around with their friends talking about, so what was your ROI this year on this business? Like no one was saying that. So once we come up, upon this information, if we don't share it, we're doing almost worse than what the others did to us by holding on to this info and not wanting to pass it on.
Absolutely. All right, man. So before I let you go, I want to give you a chance to, let people know if you got a new project coming, what's going on, where people can reach you, all that good stuff. Because listen, if y'all have not heard a Triune album yet, I'm telling you, y'all missing.
You're bugging.
You missing it. because it's constantly on my rotation. And look, I'll post it. They even cap because y'all know release radar on Spotify. If you down with Spotify, it gives you releases based on what you listen to. So guess who popped up in my release radar this week? My man's right here. So listen, let them know where they can find you at, my man.
TheRealTriune.com. That's the Nebuchadnezzar. Everything is there. All my socials, email is there. All that stuff is there. So just hit TheRealTriune.com. Tap in with me. And I'm really personable for people out there that are listening to the podcast. Like, you can reach out to me, ask questions. If you have questions about this line or this piece of content, I'm really personable. Just reach out. I know people like my homie here was like, I don't know if I no, just reach out, man. It's all love. So yeah, man. TheRealTriune.com. Reach out to me there.
All right, appreciate it. So, all right, C3 Scouts, y'all know what it is. To the next cocktail, to the next conversation. Y'all stay safe out there.
Cocktails, Code, and Conversation is brought to you by the On the Corner Media Group. Check us out at onthecorner.us for more great content.